You're listening to the Chat City interviews on 103.2 Preston FM.
And my next guest in the studio, same surname, is Stephen Parr. So, Stephen, I don't think we're related, are we?
Not sure on that one.
You're not from the Wigan area or descendants from Wigan and Billinge and Ashton and...
Well, Parr's actually my stepdad's name, so we're not related by blood anyway. I couldn't tell you if we're related by marriage. Perhaps my dad was originally from Liverpool, so...
well, lots of... In fact, we're going totally off here, listener. I'm sorry about that. Lots of course, the name Parr comes from the Parr area of Liverpool, so my family were from Liverpool. So, well, we better stop this, haven't we? Anyway, Stephen, a very good morning. Welcome to Chat City.
Yeah, good morning to you.
And one of the reasons for talking to you, I mean, often we have people who come on to the show and they talk about what has happened to them in life and things that have turned around and, you know, things that have changed. And I mean, one of the issues for yourself is the fact that I believe you got involved with drugs and became, which I know is sometimes like a throwaway word, a drug addict, and that you were homeless. So how long ago are we talking about, and why did that happen to you?
Well, it all kind of stems back to when I was younger. My mum and dad split up when I was 13, and my stepdad, I should say. I never really knew my real dad, so it was just sort of my mum and my dad. And when they split up, my mum didn't take it that well, and she actually ended up going into psychiatric care. Right. So shortly after that, I was sort of left with my cousin, who was only sort of 4 years older than me. And he
was looking after you?
Yeah, we was living together in my mum's flat, but obviously she wasn't there. She was in hospital, and that went on for quite some time, and she was in and out for a couple of years. And in the meantime, all I could get sort of benefit wise was severe hardship allowance. At the time it was about £20 a week, and where I came from, drugs were quite rife, and they were easy to get hold of, and it was quite popular, and I sort of stumbled across it, really, and as a means to surviving and for paying for food and to just get through the day and things like that, I ended up sort of running drugs for certain dealers across the estate where I lived, which meant that I would then get rewarded with some food or, you know, some money to go and get something, and it was a way of life. And then obviously because of knocking around or hanging around with those sort of people, the temptation then became that, well, I'll try this, which then led to trying something else, and eventually I ended up on cocaine to a point where, even though I had a good sales job later in life and I was earning sort of £600 a week, most of that was going back out on cocaine just so that I'd have the confidence to make the sales, and it was like a downward spiral. So hopefully I can sort of talk about how I've turned that round and where I'm at now, you know.
Well, how long ago are we talking? Because I mean, you are a young guy, so...
Yeah, well, I'm 33 now.
Yeah,
so,
are you?
Yeah, I know, I don't look it. I'd like to say I've had an easy life anyway. Got a face for radio though, perhaps. So, yeah, but I don't know, I'd say sort of up until I was around 23, and I actually managed to get some money from a clinical negligence claim. I broke my hand, and I went through a couple of years of pain, actually, with a broken bone in my wrist. My scaphoid had actually snapped in half and sort of broken into 2 pieces, and ended up having to have a bone graft and screw fixation operation to fix it. But it was a fault of the hospital for not checking after I'd broken it in the first place. They should have given it another x-ray because the plaster came off too early. It actually slipped out, my arm slipped out of it. So I got some money from that, and I decided to just get away from it all and go to Australia. So I spent some time in Australia, 6 months out there, and I totally detoxed myself. I took some herbal detox remedies, drunk loads of water, changed my diet, ran up and down the beach for an hour a day, drank smoothies and things like that, and really started listening to sort of personal coaching audios from a guy called Anthony Robbins. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
But that got me then interested in personal development and growing sort of beyond, you know, what I was capable of. And then I came back to England and started mingling with the same circles and started...
What, you went back to the guys with the drugs, with the whatever?
Yeah, because it was all I knew back in England, I suppose. So when I came back, one of the things that happened in Australia was I got married to a police officer. It was all kind of whirlwind, and it didn't really work out. So, and I'd got the wrong sort of visa as well, so I could only work anywhere for 3 months at a time. And even though I managed to get a job at Warner Brothers Studios, when I went for the interview, they said, unfortunately, you've got the wrong visa. So
this was in Australia.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back to England to get a full visa so you can come back and work for us. And by the time I'd come back to England, I thought, oh, me and now, I'll stay. And then just over time, over a matter of months, I started mingling with the same people again, and it was just easy to get back on it. And again, the cocaine started and things like that. And I found myself, it was like I just woke up to reality. I found myself at the bottom of my mum's garden. She wouldn't let me in the house. I was sleeping in a camper van that I'd bought for the remaining tools that I'd had. I'd like traded in, because I was a plasterer at one point, so I had all kinds of plastering tools, building, maintenance, joinery stuff, and I did have a sideline business doing it at one point. But I got that low that I'd traded everything in for this camper van so that I could have somewhere to live, because I couldn't afford the rent on my current place. And I was living in the bottom of this camper van. My mum wouldn't let me in because she knew I was doing the drugs and stuff, and it was just an absolute nightmare. And an old friend came along, and she knocked on the window, and she was like, how you doing? Can we turn this around? What else could this mean?
Was that the first time, in a way, anybody had said that to you? Can we turn this around? Was that your rock bottom?
Yeah, it was pretty much my rock bottom, and I'd like to say that I'd hit rock bottom a few times before, and I thought that I had, but I'd never felt so low. I felt like, to the point where I was a burden on society, that the fact that I was still alive and not contributing anything to the world, to my loved ones, to the people around me, that I was just like a drain, if you will. I was just claiming money. I had potential, but I wasn't using it.
So when you're using drugs like that, where you were at that point, can you still see reality? Because I thought you lost touch with reality.
I think it would be it's like a skewed form of reality. It's more noticeable when you see other people using drugs and you're not anymore.
Yes, I'm sure.
Because at the time you think, oh yeah, this is just the way it is, and you perceive things in a different way, obviously, because they're twisted, because your perceptions are altered due to the drugs. So, I mean, cocaine, for example, while I was using that, I felt invincible, nothing could touch me, but only while I was using it. So half an hour later, I need some more of this stuff.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. So, and especially in a sales sort of environment, which is what I really got bad on it in, because, it was an instant boost of confidence, kind of like an energy drink when you're feeling low. I could have some cocaine and then go and feel at my best, when I'm knocking doors and things like that. And it was funny, since I met the girl that I'm with now and had kids with, she's the friend that helped me turn it around. Yeah. Since I met her, I've gone back to the personal development, and I've actually studied hypnosis and hypnotherapy and become a certified hypnotherapist. And it's funny, because when I did that, everything started to fall into place, and the fact that you don't need drugs to feel that high and the rush that you need. All you need to do is draw on the resources that you already have. And also by studying NLP, I don't know if you've heard of that,
yes,
neuro-linguistic programming, you can actually get yourself into a state. In fact, you can actually induce a drug state from memory without actually having to take the drugs. It's great for people who are alcoholics and things like that. You can actually help them overcome the alcoholism or any other drug state just by anchoring that particular state, take them back to it in a memory, and then anchor that state so that they can then fire off that state if they feel like they're going to use drugs without actually going to get them, which is much safer, a more healthy way of doing it. I would presume, yeah.
But that day that she knocked on the door on the camper van. I mean, what was the process at that point? How easy was it to get off the drugs at that point?
It was an absolute nightmare, but I had some incentive. You know, she said, like, I'm your friend. I want to work on this with you, but you're going to need to take some action yourself and work on it with me.
Yeah.
I can't do it all on my own.
And is one of those actions that you have to leave the people behind who are the people using the drugs? Do you have to leave?
Well, that's exactly what I did. I got myself out of the situation that I was in. We was living about 5 miles from Preston at the time, and I moved to Preston to some student accommodation with her, just as friends, at the time. And we encouraged each other to stay away from it and to not do anything like that. And it was really good to have that encouragement. Plus, we made each other a commitment that if either one of us was to go down that road again, that it was over and that we'd go our separate ways. Well, the friendship meant more to me than the drugs, and so I had a greater incentive to stay away from them than to go back.
So you then went to college? I then
went to college from home, I should say. I started studying everything I could online about personal development and how to overcome addiction and things like that, and how to sort of help myself grow into whatever it was that I was going to be, because I had sort of lost my way at that point. I knew I had certain skills. I was good with people. I was good, and deep down I felt the most personal gratitude for helping other people. So I thought, well, why can't I help people overcome their addictions, their fears, their problems, things like that. So I started looking into personal coaching, and that's when I fell across the hypnosis, and it all started to make sense and fall into place then.
So who do you work with now then?
At the moment, currently working online, so I help people building small businesses from home. A lot of that involves personal development, because there's a lot of belief and self-belief involved in doing it. Same with any business. If you're going to start it, the only way to fail is to quit. So you've got to keep going, and you have to keep encouraging yourself to keep going. And even if the business fails, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a failure, just that you've got something to learn before you can take the next step.
Right.
So,
I mean, the difference in some ways, and probably isn't a difference to other people I've talked with, issues that have affected them with drugs, alcohol, being homeless, whatever, is usually that it's been someone else that has turned their life around. But in a way, although you went through this, you still retained a kind of independence and an independent knowledge that you could do better.
Yeah, well, one of the things that my dad, God rest his soul, my stepdad, always encouraged me with was that, all the power I need, all everything that I needed, was within me, and all I had to do was dig deep, and I could find the answers as long as I had faith in myself. And another thing was that everything that happens to me only happens to me. It's my perception of those experiences that create my reality. So I think there was a good quote I heard. It said something like, your life is only as good as the meaning you apply to each moment. So if it could just be another rubbish day in paradise.
Yes. Yeah.
Or it could be yes. A fantastic day in hell. So it's all about how you perceive things, and one of the things I've always done is thought, what else could this mean? So not just with myself, with other people. If somebody's having a rant at me and it seems hurtful at first, if I take a step back and think, what else could this mean? It could actually be their issue, and it could be something that they need help with. So rather than, taking the initial reaction and maybe jumping down their throat or something, I could maybe take a step back and say, look, I can see that there's an issue here. Is there some other way we can resolve it or whatever?
And when this was happening to you, What about any agency support? Was there no agencies that were wanting to help or support you in any way, or did you just run in an opposite direction if you saw an official person?
I tried to. The getting off the drugs throughout my life wasn't something that sort of happened overnight. It wasn't something that, like, my girlfriend came along and she just said, right, that's it. It just happened. It was something that I was trying to do on my own for a long time, and I sort of like, I'd stopped doing drugs. Like, I was at one point I was taking ecstasy, I was doing marijuana, I was doing uppers and downers, just to try and get control over my own moods. And the problem with it is that because I'm taking these drugs, the moods are up and down anyway, so I could never quite find a balance. And instead of just staying off it and letting my body and my mind find its own balance, I was always fighting one drug with the other drug. And it's only through studying the drugs themselves that I realised, marijuana can take 3 months to get out of your system. It can stay in your cells, fat cells, for up to 10 years, I believe, something like that. You think, oh, well, I'm not high anymore, it's out of my system, I'll go and have something else. I'll go and have some uppers now because I want to feel up. And then when that runs out, you feel down, so I'll go and have some alcohol. And I ended up substituting one drug with another drug, trying to get off. I was taking amphetamine, speed it's called. I was taking that because I was working 60 hours at an abattoir, and I couldn't actually stomach it unless I was taking this stuff. And I thought, why am I doing this job? I'm just doing it for the money, but I'm using the money to take the drugs, blah, blah, blah. And so I quit the job and started drinking, and I did get help with the drinking. I was too embarrassed to get help with the drugs because I felt that was my own doing. But with the drinking, I felt I had no control over it. Wow, so I went and got help with the drinking. I got some acupuncture, and I rarely touch a drink now. Wow. Whereas at the time I was one of those, give me 1 pint and I'll drink the barrel. But yeah, I got some acupuncture, and it was funny because, again, that was something else that led me into thinking of alternative therapies rather than just going to the doctor and taking the pills. Because every time I went to the doctor, I'd say, look, I'm depressed, I'm using drugs to self-medicate and to control my mood swings and things like that. And they'd just say, oh, well, here's some more drugs. Yeah. So I really wanted to break away from that and to get out of the habit of putting something in my mouth that was going to change my state, and to find a way to do it naturally. And to be fair, the most rewarding and the thing that changes my state more than anything else, and you can ask anyone that knows me now, is my children. I love my children. Wow. And they are a great inspiration for me, and just spending time with the children makes me think it's all worthwhile, and I'm never going to go back there,
Wow. Well, we've run out of time, and that is an absolute brilliant statement just to make at the end of this interview. Where can people, you say you help people online now. Yeah. How can people find out about you, or is there a contact?
Yeah, sure. I'm currently developing a website, so people could go to that, I presume, and sign up. It's free to sign up. It's www.howcanigetrich.biz, B-I-Z. I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/steve.f.parr. If you send me a message, we'll have a chat and see if there's any way I can help you out. Like I say, I'm also studying hypnosis, so I'm helping people with weight loss, quit smoking, drugs, confidence. I've helped a friend with autism recently get more confidence. But I do audio CDs and things like that as well, if you don't want a face-to-face interview. So
wow, what a story. So just quickly, and then I've got to go, give us that address again then, Stephen.
The website is www.howcanigetrich.biz.
Wow, there you are. And would you believe that's it?
We hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as we have. Why not join our Chat City family and give us a tweet at Chat City PFM.